You clicked on this video for one reason and one reason only. You want to find out how to drop body fat whilst also maintaining some sort of sanity and not being too fucking hungry during the process. So in this video, I'm going to give you the 6 top best tips, or my 6 top best tips to be able to prevent hunger whilst you're dieting to the best of your ability. Now, just to give you some credentials, just so you don't see me as some sort of waffler, considering my channel is still pretty small. I've competed in a bodybuilding show 2 times, competed in 3 different shows, 2 different seasons. I've dieted numerous times, I've failed numerous diets, I've done a bachelor's degree in strength conditioning, done a master's degree in nutrition, so I'm not just some sort of waffler that's just decided to come onto the internet, gain a few subscribers, and just talk some shit about dieting, what I don't know anything about. Point number 1, I do want you to realise when you are dieting, you are in a state of being in a calorie deficit, a state of being in a deficit which is obviously going to create some level of hunger because your body does not want to be there. That is not what we consider as homeostasis. Homeostasis is the maintenance of how your body actually, where it wants to be. It's the state of being at a point where it feels like it's maintaining. That's where you want to be and that's where you're most comfortable. Being in a calorie deficit is not going to be in a point or state of homeostasis. So you are going to experience some hunger. That's going to be normal. So I want you to actually understand that if you are going to go into a diet and you do experience a little bit of hunger, it is because 1, you're probably out of routine, 2, you're not used to that sensation of hunger, and 3, it's just a case of fighting and battling through it until the hunger actually becomes fairly normal. But anyway, that's not really a tip, that's more just a point that I want to make, because dieting is not necessarily going to be easy, and there is a reason why a lot of people do fail diets, and the battling or the sensation of hunger is one of the biggest reasons. First major tip is going to be protein intake, total protein intake. Now this is going to be massive because this will increase how full you feel and your level of satiety throughout the day. So what we want to be looking at is making sure that we're getting a serving of protein in at each meal. Protein intake is going to be one of those things that you do want to make sure that you're keeping on the higher end as much as you physically can, for a couple of reasons. From a hunger standpoint, it will help with satiety and keep you fuller for longer, but also if you're a guy watching this video, you do probably want to maintain some muscle mass or even attempt to build muscle mass if you're newer to the gym when you are still training. So to do that, protein is going to be one of the biggest and most important macronutrients for that. So when we're talking about aiming and what we want to aim towards, it's going to be anywhere between 1.6 grams to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight. And by the way, you will notice that I move a lot when I'm doing these videos because 1, it's fucking freezing in this garage, and 2, it's just how I talk, so sorry. Now the reason why protein is more satiated is because of something called TEF, the thermic effect of food. That's essentially how your body digests, processes and metabolizes that macronutrient. Protein being the highest of all the macronutrients in terms of the thermic effects of food. So because your body has to work harder, it means it's got more to be able to do. It's harder to digest, which means that hunger, or that spike in hunger, is obviously going to be lower than what it would be if you are slamming in a bunch of carbohydrates or slamming in a bunch of processed food that obviously isn't going to contribute or benefit you in terms of lowering the hunger levels down. Next one is going to be sleep. I know this one's going to be a hard one for a lot of people. Now, I'm not your dad. I'm not someone that can tell you to go to sleep at a certain time or get a certain amount of hours sleep or go for the optimal 8 hours. It doesn't work like that for everybody. It's all well and good for me to say, yeah, get 8 hours, but I don't have kids. I work from home. I talk to the camera and I help my clients get in shape. It wasn't always that way, but it's something that I understand. I do have a bit of a better privilege when it comes to getting in more sleep, whilst other people don't. If you've got kids, you've got a family, you've got a job that you work 12 hours a day for a few days in a week, it's a lot harder for you to be able to get 8 hours sleep. So what we want to look at improving is going to be sleep quality. So sleep quality is going to be massively important to focus on, even if we can't necessarily get the quantity, because it's going to decrease ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, which is that thing that's going to be that little demon on your shoulder that's going to tell you to eat some fucking shit when you feel slightly tired and slightly hungry. That is what we're trying to prevent. Sleep quality improvements are going to be massively important to prevent that hunger, because have you ever noticed on the days when you are hungrier, on the days when you have had a bit of a shit sleep and then you wake up and you think to yourself, oh, I could eat the world, I could eat anything right now, probably eat an horse. And you're more prone to just grabbing a chocolate bar, you're more prone to just ordering something in. Now this is actually another good point, alcohol. But we've all experienced this. You're hungover in the morning, you're tired, you've had a shit sleep, your quality is poor, and then you wake up and you're just like, the last thing you can think about doing is going to be making a meal, and you're more prone to picking up the phone and ordering something in, getting a takeaway, and if in fact you don't actually feel the need or want to eat good quality clean food, it's just not on your agenda and it's not what you're fancying. That's what being tired can also do. And I'm not just talking about being hungover, I'm talking about a lack of quality sleep will have a negative impact on your ability to make better food choices. It's been scientifically proven. But back to the point of sleep. These are going to be 3 sub-points that actually will help potentially improve your sleep or get you a better sleep quality. First one is going to be sleep environment. Sleep environment and making sure that your room is blackout, you're not watching TV before bed, guilty, I do that. There is blue light exposure, but one way that you can kind of battle that is to get yourself on Amazon and get yourself some blue light blockers, which also can massively help when it comes to your sleep quality, because blue light exposure pre-bed is known to negatively impact your sleep. So that is something that I'm guilty of myself, but it's something that you can utilize to improve your own sleep. Supplementation. Now, this isn't a fix, but I use something called Sleep ER. I don't know why I'm holding it. I don't have it yet. Oh, there it is. Right, Sleep ER, this is the thing that I use on a consistent basis. Now this supplement right here, if you can see it, is magical. Now that for me gives me a great sleep every single night. Is it something you can take on a consistent basis? Yeah, I do notice a difference when I don't take it compared to when I do. But if we're talking about not buying a particular supplement, you want to buy them individually, which some people do, these are the things that you can buy, which is going to be magnesium, L-theanine, and some ashwagandha. Pairing them together and having that pre-bed can massively help with sleep quality. What I find with Sleep ER though is it massively helps with how I feel pre-bed, which then helps me fall to sleep and then gives me a better sleep quality overall. But it's whatever you want to try. But that for me, get it off Amazon. I'll put it in the description below. Trust me, it works. Now this one's a bit more commonsensical. Commonsensical, is that a word? Caffeine intake. You've got to be able to limit your caffeine intake. If you are someone that trains in the evening, do not have a stim pre-workout before you train. Don't have a bunch of coffees before you train. I know you've got some psychopaths out there that can drink 2 coffees and go to bed. I don't know how you do it, but there are people out there that can do that, and fair play, but I do still think that's going to have a negative impact on your sleep without you realising it. Try and limit your caffeine intake past a certain point. Now for me, the cut-off point is going to be 2 to 3 p.m, but for most people it generally seems to be best at about 12 to 2, and then that will have a positive impact on your sleep, which then obviously has a carryover effect to the next day. Now the next one's a bit of a buzzword in the industry, and that is fasting. Intermittent fasting, to be exact. Now this for a lot of people seems to be the thing that they think is what they're missing for fat loss. No, what you're missing is finding a routine and a structure that works for you. Why do I like fasting? Fasting for me is something that allows me to have a shorter window to eat my food. I'm not actually that hungry in the morning, and the way that I kind of counteract that is going to be through caffeine intake, which then is obviously going to curb my hunger, because caffeine is massively going to help with hunger curbing. So I utilise caffeine in the morning, which then curbs my hunger. Then I get to about 11, 12, or I push it for as long as I kind of physically can, but that generally for me is about 11, 12, 1 p.m. at the latest, and then I'll have my first meal, and then that gives me a shorter window during the day to actually eat food. Because if you're anything like me, I'm fucking starving in the evening. So I would rather have more of my food in the evening than I would in the morning, because I'm not actually that hungry because of the caffeine. But there is nothing fancy behind intermittent fasting. It is just something to shorten the window for you to be able to eat food. That's it, nothing more. So if you like your brekkie, have a brekkie. If you don't really care about having a brekkie, push your food to later in the day. Breakfast is just breaking your fast. So just have your meal and have your first meal a little bit later in the day. It's just got to work for you. It works for me, but it might not work for you if you're someone that really enjoys your food in the morning. Me, I'm just not that arsed. Next is going to be volumizing your meals through veggies, fruits, nutrient-dense foods, foods that are higher in fibre. This means not removing, but cutting back on the things that ain't necessarily going to be nutrient-dense. They're more calorie-dense, so they're not going to benefit you within a diet, and they're not really going to help you when it comes to your hunger. They might curb some cravings, but all that I find is when I have something that is a bit more calorie-dense and is a little bit more appealing to the eye, I just want more of it. So for me, I just really try to cut back on the diet on the things that aren't necessarily going to benefit me when it comes to fat loss. And if I'm talking about settling my hunger, things that are more nutrient dense for me when I'm hungry are just as satisfying anyway. So if we're talking veggies specifically, 3 to 4 handfuls per one of your main meals. Fruits you can just have on the side of your meal, or you can have it as a snack throughout the day. You can utilize fruits as something to have when hunger starts to rise a little bit and you could potentially see yourself eating something. Utilize fruit as something that's going to help with curbing that craving. But what we've got to bear in mind is veggies and fruits still contain calories, but they are more voluminous, or voluminous, however people want to say it. Now, fruits and veggies are lower in calories, but at the same time, they are going to contain some calories. But that doesn't mean that you should skimp out and cut back. If hunger is extremely high and weight is continuously dropping, and you do feel like you could fill up your meals a little bit more, put some more veggies in and have some more fruit. But we do have to bear in mind that they do still have and contain calories, and we just can't avoid that. But it brings me on to the final point, which I think is the most important. And I say this to every single one of my clients. Reframe your hunger. Hunger in a diet, in a deficit, whilst you are trying to lose body fat, is going to be normal. In the earlier stages of a diet or in a fat loss phase, if your diet is too aggressive, that might cause your hunger to be too high to the point where you can't sustain it. Then it's a case of increasing the calories. But if you are experiencing more hunger at the beginning of a diet, that generally is down to the fact that your body is not used to eating less food. It doesn't want to eat less food. But the fact that you're feeling hungry shows that you're in a calorie deficit. Now, we don't want to feel like we're fucking flogging ourselves every single day. So we do have to understand what an insatiable amount of hunger is compared to what a normal amount of hunger is. But at the same time, you've got to embrace a bit of hunger. You've got to enjoy a little bit of hunger, and you've got to accept that it is part of the process. And for your body to be in a state of a deficit and not where it necessarily wants to be or to maintain, that's all right, because that's what you want. You want to drop body fat, you want to bring your body fat levels down, and to do that, hunger needs to be there. But these tips that I've gave you in this video are just ways of managing that expectation, managing that hunger, and to allow you to stay as full as you physically can during a diet. But look, if you are wanting to drop fat fast in 2025, I actually made a video on this, so I'm going to put it somewhere in the screen. I don't know where it's going to go, there or there, one of them. Check out that video, look at the process of how you can actually drop body fat fast in 2025. And if you're new around here, then make sure you drop me a subscription and subscribe to the channel and like the video if you find it useful. Any support on this channel will help. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next video.